Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotarasata Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotarasata Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Garantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shishiguru and Shigoranga. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimate Radha-swami. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Satarine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonan, Chapter 12, the killing of the demon Aghasura, text number 37. Oh, I forgot my glasses. Etat kaumarajan karma haret atma himokshanam mrityu paunganda kevala distrochur vishmita vraje Etat kaumarajan karma Hare atma hi mokshanam Mrityo paungada kevala Drishto chur vishmita braje Etau kaumarajam karma Hare atma hi mokshanam Mrityo panganda kevala Drishto chur vishmita braje This incident of delivering both Aghasura and Krishna's associates from death Kaumarajam karma performed during the Kaumara age, the age of 5 years, Harehe, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Atma, the devotees are the Lord's heart and soul, Ahi Mokshanam, the deliverance and the deliverance of the python, Mrityoho, from the path of repeated birth and death, Pangadake, at the age of Pangada, Paugandam, hold on. Beginning with the 6th year, 1 year later. Balaha, all the boys, Dristva Uchuhu, disclosed the fact after 1 year. Bishmitaha, as if it had happened on that very day. Braje, in Vrindavan. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This incident of Krishna saving himself and his associates from death and giving deliverance to Aghasura, who had assumed the form of a python, took place when Krishna was 5 years old. It was disclosed in Brajabhumi after 1 year, and if it had taken place on that very day. Purport. The word mokshanan means liberation for the associates of Krishna and for Krishna himself. There is no questions about liberation. They are already liberated, being in the spiritual world. In the material world, there are birth, death, old age, and disease. But in the spiritual world, there are not such a things because everything is eternal. As for the python, however, by the association of Krishna and his devotees, Aghasura also achieved the same facility of eternal life. Therefore, as indicated here by the word Atmahi Mokshanam, if the python Aghasura could receive eternal association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is to be said of those who are already associates of the Lord? Sakam Bijjahu Sakam Bijjahu Krita Punya Punjaha. Bhagavatam 10.12.11. Here's the proof that God is good for everyone, even when he kills someone. The one who is killed obtains liberation. What then is to be said of those who are already in the association of the Lord? Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Panchakalpatarubhyasha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So, Sukadeva Goswami is narrating to Maharaj Parikshit, and he says something that's going to spark Maharaj Parikshit inquiry, because one wonders why is the reason. He wonders why is the reason that the narration of Krishna killing the Aghasura demon happened 1 year after the actual pastime. In general, we hear how the boys, the cowherd boys, every day comes reciting and narrating all these beautiful pastimes of Krishna in poetry form and broadcasting that to all the village of Vrindavan. So everybody listens, as Krishna is arriving back to Vrindavan from the day of taking care of the calf and playing in the forest, and the activities that Krishna performed. It is said that every day he will be killing a demon. So the boys will go on and narrate all these wonderful activities, and but then in this particular case, it happens 1 year after. And then when they started to narrate the things 1 year after, well, one might ask, okay, why do they wait 1 year? But then when they narrated a year after, the boys were narrating it like it happened that day. So Srila Parikshit Maharaj is going to inquire for Sukadeva Goswami, why? How does it happen? And then we're going to hear the activities of Lord Brahma stealing the calf and the cowherd boys, and that pastime of the Brahma Mohandila, or the bewilderment of Lord Brahma. So that's next coming. Prabhupada highlight here, well, actually in the verse, there's one word that caught my attention. Harer Atmahi, no, what is it? Yeah, Harer Atmahi Mokshanam. That the word is translated that Atma is translated as the devotees are the Lord's heart and soul, which is something that we hear consistently in the pastimes of the Lord, that he in many situations reveals his heart. And he says, in the Bhagavad Gita he does, in the Bhagavatam in several spaces he does, that the heart of the Lord is filled with the affection, the love of his devotee. He, during the pastime of the protection of Maharaj Ambarish, there's the famous verse in which Lord Vishnu says that the devotees are always, I am always in the heart of the devotee, and the devotee is always in my heart. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also explains a similar principle to Arjuna. He says that he is neutral to everyone. So he's equal to everyone. But for those who actually worship him with devotion, he considers them very special. So they're a friend, and they're always in his heart. So it's an apparent contradiction, because if then the question is, well, then Krishna has some favoritism. There's a discrimination. Here's someone who is dear. Here's someone that is I'm neutral to, or I see equal. But this, for the devotees, there is this very special relationship. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it goes on to Krishna goes almost into this opening his heart to the world to see. So he goes on to say how that relationship with the devotees is that not only he's always thinking of them, but the fact is that he carries what they lack, he protects what they have. They actually, by his grace, the devotees will never fall down, will never fail. They always will be successful. And he goes to say, even if the devotee makes a mistake and commits something abominable, he's still to be considered a sadhu, because of his constant devotion to him. So Krishna goes to say how he feels about the devotee. And sometimes the question comes then, so Krishna favors the devotees. And the answer is that no, actually Krishna is equal to everyone. Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna's mercy is equal for everyone, just as the sun rays and the sun warmth is equal for everyone, is spread all over, but the living entity, according to a condition by material nature, chooses to be in darkness, or remain itself in darkness. But actually, the warmth of the sun is available. You can come out of darkness and be and receive the benefits of the sun. So Krishna is equal to everyone. He simply reciprocates accordingly to how one's approach him. So it is a very important principle in devotional service, that one feels confidence of Krishna's reciprocation. One of the beauties of the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam is that one have the access to understand the Supreme Personality of God's heart, which is something extremely fascinating, and even as a premise is completely amazing. Even if you don't actually have faith in Krishna, just that in itself should spark people's interest. Here's the Supreme Personality of God's heart. This is how he feels, this is how he thinks. He reveals that. And it's simple to have entrance into that because the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita have narrations of the intimate interactions between Krishna and his devotees. And it's almost, when you have entrance to that intimate interaction, then in general you can understand people's mind and people's heart. Because in intimacy, in the intimacy of friendship, in the intimacy of relationships, then people reveal their heart and their minds. Usually, that's what intimacy allows, that one opens one heart. So, for a third party that is observing the exchange between the loving relationship between two persons, then one have entrance into actually how this person thinks, how's the heart of this person, because that heart has been revealed. So it is wonderful to understand and to have entrance into Krishna's heart and Krishna's thinking. And that's when it becomes, that's the most attractive feature of Krishna. That's his most attractive. That's what actually help us understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all, the avatari, or the source of all incarnations. Because he have this very special sweetness that it becomes, completely open and revealed, especially in his abode of Goloka Vrindavan, and that's what the 10 cantos allow us to experience. So, Krishna's supreme attractive qualities of love. Sometimes, in Hindu circles, Krishna is described as the God of love. A little bit in a tacky, way, but indeed, he represents, the force that is there behind Krishna's exchange of pastime is called prema, or love of Godhead. So that's what fuels every exchange. That's what fuels every, the pastime that Krishna has with his devotees, is the enjoyment of this prema. And so this is some of the things that we're able to come into contact when we listen to the activities of Krishna. And even then is highlight here how in this pastime, how Krishna extends his kindness and his affection to all, including this demon who was inimical to him, to the point of wanting to kill him. So Krishna kills this demon and given liberation. So it's wonderful. I wanted to mention today is Shivaratri, right? So it's a very important celebration for many devout Hindus, and we recognize Lord Shiva as, in the Bhagavatam itself, is recognized as the topmost Vaishnava. What is it? Vaishnava Yata Shambhu. That the type of connection that Lord Shiva has with Lord Sankarshan is a great example of a devotee that worship the Lord in this awe and reverence. Lord Shiva is constantly meditating on Lord Sankarshan. And it is explained that in the Brahma Samhita that Lord Shiva is almost equal to Lord Narayan. The Brahma Samhita gives the explanation that just as milk combined with a sour element becomes a yogurt or dahi, similarly, Lord Shiva has almost the qualities. The only difference is like Lord Vishnu, but when Lord Vishnu comes into association with material energy and combines, then it's Lord Shiva. It is explained that Lord Vishnu never comes into contact in terms of association with the material energy. The material energy, let me explain that better. The material energy is the energy of the Lord, but in terms of combining, then the Lord always remains transcendental to the material energy, separated. And but when the Lord comes into contact with material energy, then that's a manifestation of Lord Shiva. It is explained in the Brahma Samhita that from Lord Mahavishnu, he glances at material energy, and that glance, within that glance, he impregnates material energy with all the living entities. It is explained that that glance is Lord Shiva. So that glance, so Lord Shiva has as far as this is my limited understanding, is very deep, but Lord Shiva is the personality who is the husband of the material energy, Durga Devi, and he is the one who impregnates the living entities within the womb of material energy. And then that's how the whole thing happens. Pradhan and the whole, everything starts to manifest within the universe. So it is explained that of the 64 qualities of Lord Krishna, Lord Shiva has 55. And Lord Shiva in itself is very unique because of that position to be almost like Lord Vishnu. So Lord Shiva is considered in his own class as Shiva Tattva. So there is a Jiva Tattva, there's a Shiva Tattva, and there's a Vishnu Tattva. So Vishnu And Jiva are, we know that there's already an explained difference. The Jiva is Anu Chaitanya, and Lord Vishnu is Vibhu Chaitanya. So his consciousness is unlimited, is all-pervading. The consciousness of the limited entity is atomic, it's very tiny. So, but Lord Shiva is in between the two. And Shivaratri is celebrated. Usually we don't, in our Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we don't celebrate Shivaratri the same way that is celebrated by the Shaivaists and Hindus. It's a big festival. Shivaratri means the night of Lord Shiva. And in general, the celebration is at night. And there, remember, when we moved from New York to Tobacco in New Jersey, the temple, my wife and I we were asked to go and help there. So we moved there. And at that time, there was a very nice community, but sort of have been left on its own for some time. And they started to, innocently, in one way, they have to manage. They started to have all these different festivals that were important in the tradition. So they had Shivaratri, they had Tulsi Vivaha, and they have so many different, there were a series of these different festivals that were not the festivals that necessarily Prabhupada has established for ISKCON, major festivals. One of them was Shivaratri, and remember, there was a Murti of Lord Shiva sitting, with his trident and his leopard skin, his tiger skin, and the skulls, like that. Lord Shiva and his matted hair and the half moon, like that. So the explanations of that why Shivaratri is celebrated is not necessarily the appearance of Lord Shiva. That, as far as I remember, and some of you maybe, Karunanidhi Prabhu knows better on this, but there's no such a thing as baby Shiva. Sometimes you see people sending during Shivaratri, making this thing, like parallel to Janmashtami, which is, baby Krishna. But there's no such a thing of baby Shiva. Lord Shiva, when he came out, when he manifested in this world, it is explained that came from the brow of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma actually was upset because his first sons declined his order, the 4 Kumaras. So he got really upset then, but the upset of Brahma is very controlled. And then from that, just simply that upset, then he came Lord Shiva in the form of Rudra. So, but anyway, that's a particular manifestation of Lord Shiva. But there's also different manifestations of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is a complete different things, but people have these concoctions. What I remember hearing from some of the knowledgeable devotees is that this celebration is one of the celebrations, there's several things that are said there during this celebration of Shivaratri. One is that celebrates the day that Lord Shiva drank the poison from the nectar, from the ocean of milk, the churning of the ocean of milk. So we remember that pastimes, that by the churning, then the first thing that came out was poison. And the poison was so heavy that that actually was burning both the devatas and the daitas, the demons. And then Lord Shiva then drank the poison and kept the poison on his neck. So Nilakanta is the name of Lord Shiva celebrating that pastime. So Shivarati is a celebration of that day. One explanation. Another one that it traditionally says about is a time, because it's celebrated at night, is also to do with Lord Shiva's dance of destruction. During the annihilation of the universe, then there is this dance that Lord Shiva does. And another part is when Lord Shiva and Parvati Devi unify. Like that. So there's different focus on Shivarati. In New Jersey, when we moved, that all these festivals were happening, then the GBC at that time, His Holiness Ramapad Swami, basically re-established again the regular programs that were established by Srila Prabhupada. And although we honor and recognize Lord Shiva, we don't necessarily perform this festival. But we do honor and take inspiration, and especially try to connect in a prayerful form, in a prayerful manner, to Lord Shiva's instructions that are recorded in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And they're very, very beautiful. And Lord Shiva's pastimes and example is very wonderful to read, and so we can think like that and pray for Lord Shiva that one also, just like in the similar way that he blessed the sons of the Prachetas, the sons of King Prachinivadi, to achieve the mercy of Lord Vishnu. So similarly, we can pray to Lord Shiva to allow us entrance into the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Lord Shiva is also considered the protector of the holy Dham. So in general, when we go and visit the holy Dham, and that's, equal in Mayapur, in Vrindavan, in Jagannath Puri, in general, you pray to Lord Shiva to allow your entrance into that. So it's a very important personality for devotees. Any comments or questions?
Prabhu, can you explain that line little bit? Like Saghasura, he got the moksha, liberation, but I am confused. That means Prabhupada mentioned that here he got eternal life. Like what type of moksha he got? Like Sajujya or Samipya? Sajujya means that he merged in the effulgence, or he became the associates. There is a confused, there is a word is eternal life.
That got explained in previous verses. It says that he obtained sarupya mukti, which means that he obtains a similar form of as an associate of the Lord. So it's one of the, proper liberation. Sayuja mukti is not considered a proper liberation. It's from Sayuja mukti you can fall down again. So we hear that later. We hear that in the Bhagavatam. No, earlier we heard that. What is it? Aruhya krichena padam padam tata padantyatha. So if you don't take full shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, then again you fall down. So Agasura, that's the part that is wonderful, that the devotees say, oh wow, how wonderful Krishna is. He gave this demon the same liberation that he gave to his devotees. How is that possible? So Maharaj Parikshit will ask that question. And yeah. So he received that liberation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for your class. In chapter 34 of Krishna book, it does mention that Nanda Maharaj and some of the residents of Vrindavan were celebrating Shiva Ratri. But then that pastime describes while they're celebrating Shiva Ratri, a snake was swallowing Nanda Maharaj. This is chapter 34 of Krishna book. Snake was swallowing Nanda Maharaj, and then Krishna came and touched his foot to the snake and saved Nanda Maharaj. And then there was a demigod named Vidyadhar who appeared. And Krishna says, how did you get the abominable body of a snake? And the demigod said, I was proud of my beauty, so I laughed at a sage named Angira, an ugly sage named Angira. He cursed me to become a snake, and that's how I became a snake. And maybe this pastime is meant to show that Nanda Maharaj, why are you performing Shiva Ratri? So maybe he fulfilled, I don't know, but we still honor Vaishnavas, obviously, like Lord Shiva.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's such an amazing personality and Lord Shiva is also the head of one of the Sampradayas.
Yeah.
The Rudra Sampradaya.
Yeah.
So particularly I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, but Shiva is glorious for many reasons, and sometimes we may not see in the scriptures. I kind of try to connect this to this verse today, because in the purport, Prabhupada mentions Mokshanam. In the purport, the verse mentions Mokshanam. He said this means liberation. And we see throughout the scriptures that the opposite of liberation is bondage. And we see also, most people say this, like in the Brahma Samhita, is described that this world is like Durga, a prison. And from the spiritual perspective, bondage doesn't simply mean external imprisonment, but ultimately internal imprisonment. And liberation doesn't just mean external freedom, but ultimately internal freedom. Because we see, for example, like Prahlad, although he was imprisoned on the outside, he was free on the inside. Therefore, he was always happy. Whereas Hiranyakashipu, he was free on the outside, but he was always imprisoned on the outside. And that's why he was always unhappy. Because we see that the demarcation between a free person and a prisoner is that a free person is happy and a prisoner is unhappy. So we see that Prahlad was always happy. Why? Because he was free with his humility, his appreciation, his forgiveness. Whereas Hiranyakashipu, he was slave. He was shackled by pride, shackled by envy, shackled by vengeance. And therefore, there's a nice quote that says, he that is kind is free, even though he be a slave. Whereas he that is evil is a slave, even though he be a king. And this reminded me of this pastime. And I kind of like to connect this to Lord Shiva's pastimes, because you quoted in the 12th canto of Bhagavatam, it says Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. Now, if we go over and scrutinizingly analyze some of the pastimes of Lord Shiva, from our calculation, from our material calculation, it appears that how is he so glorious? He almost killed Bhrigu Muni. He gave a benediction to many demons. One of them in 10th canto, chapter 88, name was Brikasura. Brikasura wanted to kill Lord Shiva after he got the benediction from Lord Shiva. Shiva gave a Bhagavatam class with his wife on his lap. Most of us would criticize him like Chitraketu also. And he also, one of the most embarrassing, you could say, pastimes with Lord Shiva is that he discharged semen. Of course, it was gold and silver, which is actually, come in handy. When he saw Mother Mohini Murti form, even in front of his wife, he didn't care. And so from our material calculation, naturally, that's why we need the Bhaktivedanta purports. We're reading the Bhagavatam, we'll never become devotees reading these pastimes. And but in that Mohini Murti pastime, and you could kind of relate this to all the pastimes, that Lord Krishna tells Lord Shiva, basically it appears that Lord Shiva is a slave to his anger in many pastimes, a slave to his lust, a slave to his pride. But in this pastime, Mohini Murti, Lord Krishna never said, he says, because you are free from shame, I bless you with, whatever, with great devotional service, something to that extent. And the reason I appreciate that is because we see throughout the Bhagavatam, Narada Muni, in his previous life, he never tried to hide his fault. He lusted after women, and then he became a great Vaishnava. Lord Shiva, similar situation. And we see throughout these pastimes, the reason they're really great Vaishnavas is that they don't put on the front like, I'm Krishna, I never made any mistakes. Nor do we ever hear them telling Vyasadeva, please edit this pastime out the Bhagavatam. Usually in our material situation, in the material world, when people make some mistake, make some fault, they delete the video, cover up the mistake. They're willing to do anything and everything to maintain their perfect reputation. But Lord Shiva and all the great Vaishnavas, that's what makes them so glorious, is that, so there's a nice quote, it says, the reason the rear view mirror is smaller than a windshield on your car is because what's in your past is not nearly as important as what's in your future. So the great souls, they never become stagnant in their Krishna consciousness by looking at their faults or their past, and that's why they're able to make steady progress. However, this if I were asked a question, my question is that the tendency is that we're all conditioned souls, we all make faults. However, the tendency is that we do everything within our power to cover up our own faults, and we do everything within our power to expose others' faults. And so my question is the difference between honesty and fault finding, because a lot of times we say, I want to be honest. I'm a very honest person. Let me tell you this person's fault, but what about your own faults? Oh, I have no faults. So my question is a lot of times, how can we not self-deceive ourselves by thinking we're honest? Every little thing we see, everything, we speculate about, there has to be a big meeting. But I've never seen anyone, come to a meeting exposing their own faults. So how can we avoid, committing this blunder? That's why Lord Buddha said, he says a nice quote, not the perversities of others, not their sins of commission or omission, but its own misdeeds and negligences should a sage take notice of. So basically, most of our time, we're not dealing with child abuse, we're not dealing with domestic abuse, we're not dealing with many, it's just, small faults. But we see that in the scriptures, sometimes they blow out of proportion. So what are some steps we could move forward to take to move forward to stop blowing everything out of proportion. Or if we do blow out of proportion, let's blow our own thoughts out of proportion. Let's post them on Facebook, on Twitter, on this, etc. So I don't know, maybe you could expand on some of these points.
I will just say matter of maturity. People have to, move from what is called Gramya Kata, where, it's a matter of growth. When we tend to be immature or not, to involve in our own, selfish things, and we stand our selfishness, and we have these ideas of ourselves. All the things is just a signs of ignorance. So the idea is that we recognize we have to move away from that stuff. We have to move away from getting drawn into this whirlpool of speculations, of sentiments, of being sentimental, being, this and that type of thing, and try to just simply see things from a perspective that is more elevated, that is in terms with first duty, to understand, the duties that we have for everybody, and also based on the principles that we're receiving from Srila Prabhupada and the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. So we just try to apply it. It's a matter of application, it's a matter of growth. And that applies in general, in everything, individually and collectively. As you grow up, so there's less speculation, there's less absorption in this sort of criticism, this thing, this, that, this, all this stuff, blowing out of proportion, this, whatever way it is, but as long as we are caught into that thing, you blow things out of proportion. We don't understand. But when you start to function, you start to grow, then it's appropriate and it's expected that you start to see things in a more objective manner. And usually that have to do with, when it's based on the principles of Krishna consciousness that we're learning to live with. It's about of application. So I'm going to stop here. Oh,
one
yes.
quick thing. On our calendar it says Shivatri. Somebody texted me and said no grains today. Is that correct?
I'm not sure.
It wasn't on our calendar, but somebody texted me. I don't know who it is.
I don't think we follow, that. Maybe some of the Shiva is devotees, they follow in that. But I don't think, yeah. Yes, bro.
Jai Baladev doesn't need a microphone.
No, but the people need a microphone, the people that are hearing in the internet. Yes. But they want to hear what you want to say.
Okay. So we're mentioning that Lord Shiva is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, topmost servant of Krishna. And there's one pastime in the Puranas, I wish I could tell you, I'll have to do a little research, come back, tell you which Purana, describes how amazing way that Lord Shiva served Vishnu, Krishna. One time there was some argument developed between Brahma. You mentioned Brahma and the cowherd boys, going for a year, so on and so forth. So there was some argument between Brahma and Vishnu, and Brahma was saying perhaps he was more powerful. So Shiva immediately provided an amazing test. Suddenly, no one even knew where it came from, but there was this gigantic pillar of pulsing light and energy that just appeared out of nowhere. And so Shiva challenged both Vishnu and Brahma to find out, what is this? And so Brahma said, I will go up on my swan carrier and I will find out, I will tell you. And Vishnu said, he didn't say anything, he took on his Varaha form and declared, I am going down. And so they went for tens of thousands of years, both of them. Brahma up, Vishnu down, just tearing through the earth and everything to find out. And they couldn't find it. They went, longer than we can even begin to imagine. And then at some point, Brahma, he saw a flower floating down from the top of it. It was a Ketaki flower. And Brahma said, good. I've found the top. You're the flower coming now. Isn't that right? And Ketaki, just a flower, Ketaki said, oh, okay, yeah. So Brahma felt, oh, this is it. I've done what I had to do. And Brahma came back down and said, here's my witness, Ketaki. And of course, Lord Shiva said, you're a scoundrel. And so, because really, in other words, Shiva is the same as Vishnu anyway. Just in the same way, yogurt is the same as milk. We know that. So the moral of this story is that, of course, you can't try to fool either Shiva or Vishnu, because they're working together all the time anyway, somehow or another.
Correct.
So as a result of this, Shiva said to Ketaki, you will never be offered to me ever. I will never accept Ketaki flower as an offering. And said to Brahma, no one will worship you. There will be no places of worship for you. But there are a couple, one in Pushkar and someone told me somewhere else. But basically that's the exception that proves the rule. Shiva's word is inviolable.
Yeah, we can without being very careful, we can explain Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is as good as Lord Vishnu. From the perspective of, as you say, they have an unifying. Lord Shiva is an expansion of Lord Vishnu with a particular task for Lord Vishnu of representing him in the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this material world. So we have to be, even to understand the past tense of these great personalities, it can be very bewildering. So as Jai Baladev said, without Srila Prabhupada, it will be impossible for us to understand. We get into these confusing things sometimes that we see in some of the presentations of traditions that are there that come from Hinduism. Very difficult to understand. Very difficult to understand. But we treat it with great respect, and also with prayer, in a prayerful mood. So we can think of Lord Shiva today like that. Thank you. Garantarashimam Bhagavatam ki jai.